Hi there. I'm very excited that you're joining me this time because I will talk about one of my favorite things to do in my art journal, and that's painting portraits. I will show you some of my old portraits. I discovered my oldest portraits ever, so I will show them to you. I'm going to talk about the portraits that I created throughout the years. I will show you some of my portraits in my new art journal, and I will give you a challenge. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to help us grow, please subscribe. And when you want to receive weekly art inspiration, turn on the notification bell so you won't miss a thing. I want to show you something that I really love. I found this on the attic. It's a book in which I collected all kind of mini portraits. People from the side. It's almost always girls. I think there's no male in it. And some of those have no nose. They have a round shaped heads. So I think this is all, well, when I was 9 or 10 years old. I have older ones, and my mom used to tell me that I started drawing portraits with cat ears. So when I started with the simple children-like style faces, they all had cat ears. I wasn't good at horses as well, you see. But these were all things that I wanted to keep. I wanted to save them. And it's always girls, and this one is from a series called The Swiss Family Robinson, kind of manga style that I tried to practice. Here's a boy finally, and here too. And this is the house of my granddaddy and grandmother. So sometimes there are other pictures like flowers and mushrooms, and this is Sanne from the Swiss Family Robinson again. And she inspired me to create my own book. This was the personality based on Sanne from the Swiss Family Robinson. She's also called Sanne. And she has a rabbit farm, and this book is all about her. And this was the first book I ever written fully. Here's the rabbit. There are also some horses. So there are a lot of pictures. They were in color, but it was too expensive to copy everything full color. So I think I created 50 copies of it, and I sold it to family and friends. And it was a really nice thing to do. I think I was around 13 years old when I created this book. When I was in high school, I created all kind of faces during the lessons, and the teachers told me not to draw, but I could listen better when I created these kind of portrait things. You see, it's improving, but it's not good already. But it was just popping up. I was doodling all the time, and there were faces everywhere. I also created a planner myself. I think this was in my last year of high school, and I created everything myself. So this is a week in September, but also here there were faces popping up. And here, she's got 4 legs. And here. So I just created these things to express myself and to test some clothing styles. These are 70 clothes. I was really into those kind of clothes. And I think I was around 16 years old when I was doing this. And these are all people who wrote down things in my weekly planner. And this is almost looking like an art journal, isn't it? I find it great that I still kept it on the attic, and I felt like I wanted to show it to you. And well, just to express myself, it was just fun to do. I had no ambitions with it, only to get through the boring lessons. in high school. With that said, it isn't surprising at all that portraits were coming up in my art journals as well. I work in a free way when I'm working in my art journal. Mostly I don't have a plan. So the faces are popping up everywhere. Sometimes I see a face in the background. Sometimes it's just an eye or a mouth shape, and I continue working on that, and then this woman is coming to life. It's just a natural process to me that these kind of images are coming up. And throughout the years, I developed my style, I exercised my skills. I did some art lessons, painting classes, also online classes to develop my style. Sometimes I use reference pictures to inspire myself and to exercise my skills. These could be pictures from painters, or it could be pictures of personalities that really inspire me. So I use this picture from Toulouse-Lautrec, and you see that it's inspired by it, but it's not exactly the same face. And I love to check out the proportions, and then I create my own face of it. And the challenge for me is to create faces that are, well, alike the real person that I'm drawing. But sometimes I really love to test it out. Like here with the Joni Mitchell portrait. She is one of my favorite singer-songwriters, and this book is called Blue, so I really wanted to have the lyrics of the song Blue in it, and I wanted to create the portrait of Joni Mitchell, which is on the cover of the Blue album. So here I really did my best to get her, well, realistic. But most of the time I want to do it intuitively, so I just draw what's coming up. But reference pictures really help to exercise your skill, and I think it's very important to do both. Sometimes working from within, sometimes working from a picture, because then you can really get into the, well, the real face proportions and the distance from the eyes, the nose, the mouth. Everything is getting better when you draw from pictures. So I think I can recommend both methods. I decided to dedicate a book, a special art journal about portraits too. That's this book. It's all about portraits, and I will dedicate a full video about it. But this is really the book that I want to have portraits in, and I want to exercise my skills. And sometimes it's a bit collage-like the thing I created when I was a kid, like this. I am just doodling when I'm on the phone with someone, and these things are coming out. It's just a natural way for me to express myself. Nevertheless, I have a book for portraits. There are always portraits coming out in other books, like this one. This was from last year's travel to France and Scandinavia. And at a given moment, there were just faces coming up, and it seemed to me that they told me a story. And the story goes from this. There are no portraits here, but the story continues here. And there were a lot of texts. They really told me something, messages from a deep inner level. And I found that I had to write them down, but I felt there was no opportunity to put them in the book. So I put them in a notebook, and later on maybe I wanted to integrate them, but for now it was just like this was magic that happened with the portraits, and I felt this is really a thing that I love to do and continue with, because it's so important to create these kind of soulful portraits. And here is, well, here I finally, well, added some text, but it's lyrics from a song. And here I have even more portraits. It's about forgiving someone. So this is just what's happening in random art journals. There are portraits everywhere. At the moment I created this book, and I realized that these portraits were really taking my art to a higher and more soulful level. Now I will show you some portraits in my most recent art journal, which is called Home. So in this book, Home, which is finished, I created a couple of self-portraits, which is another style, another thing to do, and I really love creating this one. It took me a longer time than creating these kind of, well, figures and other portraits like these, because I really have to be it. My soul needs to be in it. And this was at a very funny moment when I was at a gathering with my family, and I was wearing cat ears. So I really wanted to have that portrait in my art journal. And I made another one. It's more like an illustration. So it isn't that realistic, but I think in the end all portraits are kind of pieces of me and at a particular moment. And so this is me standing at the huge red beach, which is in a park close to our house. And I felt really like I was very fragile at that moment, and I was standing on the roots of the tree, and I felt strong. While I was feeling fragile and sensitive, I was also feeling like, okay, it's okay. So I really want to capture that in this picture. Now I move on because I have more portraits. And there's a lot of text. I will tell you more about that in the next video. Here is another portrait with music. This was a portrait that I was creating in the student lesson for the art journaling students who visit my studio weekly. And I put it in the book with charcoal. I kind of copied it into my book. And then I thought her head was a bit too large. So I had the solution with creating a scarf with fabrics. And I also done some mixed media things with music, sheet music, and I did some dried flowers. This is a poppy, which some of the students brought poppies, dried poppies, Yvonne. So thank you, Yvonne, for having that. It's a wonderful necklace. And finally, I have some portraits in this page, and there's a wonderful thing that happened to me, and I sometimes see faces in my table protection, which is kind of plastic thing, and there are so many paint things around the place. So sometimes I see eyes, like in this one. This isn't finished yet, but I really loved creating faces, and sometimes there are more faces at the same time. So for my students, my weekly art journal group, I copied a piece of my tablecloth, my table protection, in which I saw some faces. I think I saw them, I think there were around 10 faces that I saw, that I could work out. And I'm very, very curious if you see them too. So let's do the challenge. I will put this one in screen, put the video on pause right now, and check out if you see some faces. Put it in the comments how many faces you see, and maybe you can make a screenshot, print it out, and work your faces out in your way. It's a really lovely thing to exercise intuitive painting, and maybe you won't see that many at start, but you will see, if you exercise this skill, you will see more and more faces in everything, maybe even in the wood or whatever. Now, if you're ready, I will show you my students' results. They created some faces based on this print, and they also did a larger face like the one that I show you here. The final thing I will share with you today is that I set myself another challenge, and that's to create a portrait each day. So maybe you will join me too. And I just started this week, but I already have, I think, 5 faces, and there are some faces that are on the table protection too, like this one. I can include them in the book. So this book isn't finished, but it goes like this. And for me, it's really a nice thing to do because you see the faces all have different moods each day. So if you want to join me in this challenge, you can do it for a month or you can do it for a year. Maybe that's quite long, but it doesn't take me a lot of time. It's just, I think I am working 10 minutes on each portrait. So it's not taking a lot of time in your day, and you really exercise your skills. And you can also use reference pictures. You can use, well, intuitive things. So if you want to join me, I'm very curious what you'll be making, and maybe you can share it with me by email. And if you want so, I can make a full video about the portraits that you've been sending to me. My email is in the description below. So I hope you're joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you will join me on the challenge with creating a mini book with portraits, one portrait a day. I have already 5 portraits and I have some, well, table protection things that are, well, still on the list to put in the book. You will, of course, see it when I'm completed the one. Maybe it's never completed, as there's always a portrait waiting to be painted each day. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell. And I hope to see you next time again.